Welcome to another MedTech Gurus podcast, where we meet and discuss trending and educational topics that are important to today's medical technology sales and marketing professionals. Now, it doesn't matter if you're new to the space or if you're a seasoned medical sales and marketing professional. You all have come to the right place. You see, the medical technology world is ever changing, and MedTech Gurus will help you stay up to date by interviewing experts and opinion leaders. Now, we call them gurus, and they will bring you information, techniques, and strategies that are sure to help you enhance your knowledge and help you bring value to your customers and your company. Now, I'm Sylvester Harris, and I'm pleased to introduce your host for MedTech Gurus, Mr. Tom Hickey.
Hey, what's going on out there, Gurus? This is Tom Hickey, your host of MedTech Gurus, and welcome to episode number 272. I'm thrilled to host Olivier Taelman, CEO of Nyxoah, a groundbreaking company in the field of sleep apnea treatment. Olivier introduces us to Genio, Nyxoah's innovative neurostimulation solution designed to simplify and revolutionize the treatment of obstructive sleep apnea. Olivier dives into the pivotal data, discusses the challenges of scaling globally, and shares key strategies for navigating the U.S. market ahead of FDA approval. With a focus on patient-centric innovation, Olivier reveals how Nyxoah is transforming lives by making sleep simple again. Tune in to discover actionable insights and the latest trends in personalized healthcare. This is one episode you won't want to miss. But before we get into the episode, let's thank our sponsor, Accelerant Consulting. Gurus, GPOs, RPCs, IDNs, it's all so overwhelming. You need to accelerate sales and sweeten that bottom line, and you need to do it now. But you're not even sure where to start. Let the experts at Accelerant Consulting guide you through today's complex healthcare market. Check them out at accelerantconsulting.com. That's EXCELERANT consulting.com, and do it today. Okay, Gurus, here it comes, episode number 272. And remember, if you like what you hear, please subscribe, leave a review, and most importantly, tell a friend. Welcome, MedTech Gurus. Today, as I mentioned in the introduction, we have an exceptional guest. Olivier Taelman, CEO of Nyxoah, is a Belgium-based dual-listed device company that has developed Genio, an innovative patient-centric treatment for obstructive sleep apnea, sometimes known as OSA, using neurostimulation. The company has already launched Genio in parts of Europe and is now awaiting approval in the U.S., which is expected early in 2025. Nyxoah presented pivotal trial data at the International Surgical Sleep Society conference, achieving all co-primary and secondary endpoints and showing significant improvements in apnea-hypopnea index regardless of sleeping position. This technology could revolutionize the obstructive sleep apnea treatment landscape and create a key differentiator in the field. Olivier has a bachelor's degree in biology from Hazlitt University and an MBA from the Wharton School of Business. Hey, Olivier, are you ready to be our guru today?
I definitely am. Looking forward to.
We're very excited to have you. So tell us something fun or interesting about yourself or your family so we can get to know you a little better.
I think, as my accent already reveals, I'm not a native American. I was born and raised in Belgium, small country in Europe, beautiful country to live in. My wife and I, we are happily married for the last 27 years. We have 3 children, 2 girls and 1 boy. And we moved over the summer to New Jersey, Summit, to be very precise, just outside of New York, and trying to find and to settle in.
Oh, that's fantastic. You know, I could have sworn you were from Texas.
I'm not.
That just teasing, but I'm glad you're getting settled in the U.S. and congratulations on the 27 years marriage. That's terrific. So, Olivier, Nyxoah has been making some significant strides, if I've got this right, with Genio, particularly with its patient-centric approach. I'm wondering if you can kind of walk us through at a high level how Genio was developed and why neurostimulation is such a game changer in treating obstructive sleep apnea. Can you help us out with that?
Certainly. So Nyxoah operates in the field of obstructive sleep apnea, and this is one of the most common sleep disorder breathing conditions. Just to fill you in with some numbers, if you look worldwide, more than 1 billion people are suffering from OSA, of which 400 million really require treatment. Now, the current golden standard treatment, and I'm sure you know someone in your family or friends that is suffering from this, stays CPAP, the oxygen masks. It's a very effective treatment, but up to 50% of patients will quit CPAP due to discomfort associated with the product and the therapy. Now, if we go into the US only, on annual base, up to 500,000 patients are suffering from what is called moderate to severe obstructive sleep apnea. And they are definitely in need for treatment and looking for alternative solutions once they quit their CPAP technology. Now, to go a little bit more in depth on a moderate to severe OSA patient, it means that moderate, you have minimum 15 obstructions every hour when you sleep, and you become severe when you go over 30 obstructions every hour when you sleep. Now, what is the consequence of these obstructions? It is that you will be facing a significant increased cardiovascular risk, going up by 5, with a risk for stroke that is doubling compared to people who are not suffering from OSA. All this is driven by a constant lack of oxygen caused by these airway obstructions. And that is also the reason why people are in need for treatment. Now, there is also some good news for the bed partners, because most of the OSA patients are also heavy snoring patients. So once they find the correct treatment, you also see that this snoring also is vanishing and is going away. Now, I was already mentioning about the risk for cardiovascular and also the risk for stroke, but we can summarize this saying that the mortality risk is significantly increasing. But along with the mortality risk, you also see that the healthcare cost due to work, absenteeism, a loss of productivity due to daytime sleepiness, road traffic accidents, mental health issues, delayed diagnosis of secondary conditions, just to mention a few, are also triggered by untreated OSA. So the message here is get a treatment, and preferably the right treatment for the type of patient that you are.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really helpful. And I'm thinking too, because I've seen this equipment. Fortunately, I've never had to use it personally, but I would think just wearing some of the masks and some of the apparatus that are used in some of these devices would make it very awkward and, in my mind, contribute to a lack of sleep just from having the devices attached to you. Is that what you're finding?
That is correct. So when market research was done on asking why people are quitting their CPAP mask, I think what you just described was one of the reasons. Another reason was also that people are simply hindered in their movement while sleeping, once wearing the mask. And there is also the cosmetic aspect where people are saying, I do not want to be seen by my bed partner wearing a mask. So there are different aspects, and maybe that also brings us to how neuromodulation was introduced into the space of treatment for OSA. It started in 2007 with a US company that used, in fact, a pacemaker platform technology that was implanted or that is still implanted by ENT surgeons. Now, the mechanism of action of hypoglossal nerve stimulation is pretty straightforward. An implanted device will deliver mild electrical pulses to the hypoglossal nerve during sleep. That then will activate the muscles of the tongue and the surrounding airway, preventing an airway to collapse and ensuring airflow throughout the night. And maybe for the listeners, why our product is called Genio, when I'm referring to the muscle of the tongue, it's also called the genioglossus muscle. And that's where the name Genio is coming from.
Very clever.
Within Nyxoah, our vision from the beginning was very straightforward. We wanted to make sleep simple by developing a patient-centered solution that would be less invasive. It would come with reduced surgical risk compared to a pacemaker platform, and it would provide more patient comfort and satisfaction using a comparable mechanism of action. And I do think we developed our product reaching all these criteria in the sense that there is no need for a chest implant. It's a safe and fast implant procedure, minimizing the risk of complications, having only one incision. There is no battery that is implanted, so there is also no need for additional surgery. There is an enhanced patient comfort, and of course our technology is completely upgradable comparable to the operating system of your phone. We just push it through, and the patient can always benefit from the latest and greatest versions of the system.
Yeah. So, Olivier, let me ask you, we touched on some of the pivotal data that was just presented at the ISS conference. I'm wondering if you could share with our gurus out there, because many of them are getting ready to introduce medical devices. So what are some of the critical findings from this data? And then maybe we can touch on some of the Genio's ability to improve AHI across some of the sleeping positions. Can you help us out? First of all, what were some of the critical findings from some of your data that you saw out there?
Yeah. So first and foremost, the study reached its primary efficacy, but also safety endpoints. I think that is really important. And to answer your question, one of the critical things that we saw that we were able to show a reduction in AHI that was above 70%. I think that's really important. Science is a really strong number. A little bit drilling in a little bit deeper, we also demonstrated that in 82% of all our study patients, we could bring or reduce the AHI and bring it back below 15. Now, why is this 15 number so important? As I mentioned in the beginning, you start being in need of treatment once you have 15 or more obstructions. So by reducing the AHI below 15, patients can return, in fact, to a normal life and officially are no longer in need for treatment. So that was something that we saw. And next to this, the sleep position. You also made reference to this. Mm-hmm. Once you sleep on your back, and I think we all experience this after a heavy meal with a little bit alcohol consumption, and you fall asleep on your back, you tend to start heavy breathing and snoring. But for OSA patients, sleeping on the back also means that the AHI can even double. And it's so important once you have a technology that you don't need to worry, like, am I sleeping on my side, on my belly, on my back? And we are currently the only company with proven clinical evidence that we can do this and keep the airway open, regardless what sleep position patients are in.
Wow, that's outstanding. So as we mentioned, you're expecting an FDA approval for the U.S. here shortly. So as you gear up for a U.S. launch, what are some of the challenges you anticipate in bringing Genio to the U.S. market? And how are you preparing your team and company for this big step? Do you have any insights out that some of our other gurus out there could learn from?
Yeah. So first of all, we are by foundation a European company. Mm-hmm. So first thing we did is, also knowing that our market is in the US, is moving and shifting our focus completely to the US. Mm-hmm. To be very concrete, I moved myself with the family to the US. We hired our CFO in the US, our chief medical officer, our chief HR officer. So we have a lot of the leadership currently that is in the US and native US people. So that is one aspect. Second, in our view, it's very simple. It all comes down to people behind the launch. And there the question is, how do you hire the right talents? And how do you provide a top quality launch for every stakeholder involved? I think that is one of the key challenges that we are facing currently. And I'm really, really happy and pleased to say that since we revealed our clinical data, that we get so many people that want to join the company in the US. So that is really encouraging. So it's about talent. Another challenge that we had in the beginning was manufacturing. Like, where do you manufacture? How do you scale? So we have decided to manufacture in the US for the US. There also, I can share that we have FDA inspection in the site. We passed without any deficiencies. So also there, the lights are turning really green. And then last, I do think the role of a sleep physician. So a sleep pulmonologist today who is prescribing CPAP, also convincing those people to refer their patients to a surgeon to get an implant, and afterwards being able to follow up the patients and manage the patients further throughout the stage of OSA. That will also be another crucial factor in our launch success.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I was intrigued by how the data helped with some of the recruiting, right? Because normally we think the data is going to help us with a clinician, with medical teams, the systems out there. But in your case, you also found it as a way of recruiting, right? So was it particular individuals were intrigued by that and saw the potential of the company? Am I heading down the right track with that?
Yes, I think you are. So today there is one hypoglossal nerve stimulation company in the US that holds the monopoly. I do think it's clear that physicians, patients like to have an option to choose. We positioned ourselves as the number 2 that will enter the market shortly. It's also waking up people active in neuromodulation, but also people who are currently working with a competitor who are saying maybe it's time to find new horizons. And then we are just happy to see all the attention and we try to select the right talent out of this.
Yeah, that's outstanding. So you touched a little bit on, some of your strategies for coming to the U.S. As mentioned, a lot of our listeners out there are either in a startup or about to have a startup. Can you expand a little bit on some of the challenges of trying to navigate this international market expansion and maybe some of the key factors that, our gurus should focus on as they try to ensure a smooth entry? Do you have any thoughts for us there?
So what we did is very simple. I think focus is key. Mm-hmm. As you expand, multiple opportunities will arise, but it is really important to maintain a strong focus and ensure to allocate time and resources in line with your plan and strategy. I think that is my first advice. The second one could be, it's also important to understand where you can make an impact and where you cannot make an impact, and dare to choose. Because sometimes we want to please everyone and everywhere. In our vision, keep with your focus, stick to the plan, and also attract the right talent. And when I say the right talent, what we did is we went after people with a proven track record, with experience, because as a startup company, you will be facing so many challenges that it is important to have experienced people helping navigating you through.
I found your statement about where you focus on where you can make an impact and not where you can't, right? Because I find it maybe you've experienced this. So many times companies try to do everything for everybody, right? Mm-hmm. I think what you're saying is kind of really narrow that focus in on some of those key best practices and then think about maybe market extensions, product extensions down the road when you're better suited, better funded to be able to do that. Am I heading down the right path with that one?
That is totally correct. Mm-hmm. I think it's important that when you enter a market, you're in there to stay and that you always can provide the best quality that patients are deserving. And therefore, it means in the beginning that you have to make choices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that. And you got to make the right choices, right?
Yeah, but as they say, it's whatever choice you make, stick to your focus and make sure you can deliver up onto the expectations and dare to say no.
Yeah, I love that. So shifting gears a little bit, Olivier, if I've got this right, when I did my research, Nyxoah raised about 86 million euro, which is about $96 million this year to fund the U.S. launch and commercialization. And with our gurus out there, they're always interested in what are some of the biggest lessons learned in raising investor capital, especially in a space like we're in medtech. What advice would you give to these startups to looking to secure similar types of funding? Do you have any thoughts for us there?
I think it starts with having a compelling story. And when I say a compelling story, in medtech and in the Nyxoah example, we build everything around 3 pillars. And those are market, technology, and coverage and reimbursement. When you look at the market, we started with this. It's a huge market, the OSA field. So they like to refer to this as a TAM, the total addressable market. It's over $10 billion in the US alone. So it's huge. Technology-wise, try to be and position your technology as innovative and disruptive, meeting unmet need. I think here it goes without saying, there is only one player and there is definitely a need for a second one. And there is clearly an under-penetration currently in helping OSA patients. And then last, I'm always saying somebody will need to pay for all this. So also there, having a reimbursement strategy from the beginning, it's so important. Think about what CPT code do you want to use? How do you see coverage? How can you educate payers from the beginning? I think that is also important. And then last, I also think that you will have to demonstrate that you can execute. Mm-hmm. Because in medtech, contrary to, for example, biotech, in medtech, investors like to see how you execute, how physicians and patients embrace your technology, and how this is returning into a fast ramping up of revenue generation.
Yeah, I like that because to me, it sounds like you're kind of coming back to your focus theme again, right? Because I've seen pitch decks, I've seen folks talk to investors, and they seem to fall in love with their technology, and you'll see 30 slides about the technology. But if I've got it right, you're saying kind of keep it very narrow and keep on those 3 or 4 pillars that you outlined, and that might help achieve success in raising dollars. Is that what you're finding?
Yes, that is correct. I start always, I think, with the market. You position your technology, and then you show the road to profitability. Now, who will pay? How many patients will you treat? How fast can you grow? And how fast can you scale? And then you execute. And in your execution plan, you make sure that you find the trust of investors, that you have the right team in place, and that you will be doing the right things.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So coming back now to Genio, what role do you see in neurostimulation in the future of sleep apnea treatments? How's it going to fit into a broader trend of personalized patient-centric treatments? Can you give us some insights in that and maybe what the next big innovations might be?
Mm-hmm. I started my career in neuromodulation around the years of 2000 with one of the blueprint companies, Medtronic, where I was responsible for neuromodulation in Europe. And I saw this field growing so fast in multiple fields, from Parkinson's disease all the way to pain management and now into obstructive sleep apnea. So I do think that neuromodulation as a concept has proven to be a good solution for people in pain, suffering from Parkinson, but also now from obstructive sleep apnea. In going forward, I do think it will be so important also to keep the patient at the center. And what do I mean with this? I mean, how can we make a therapy attractive for a patient to be compliant, to use its therapy, to make sure that they also get feedback from how well they are doing by data capturing, over time, machine learning, integrating some artificial intelligence in making the system better. And in our specific example, and then I will not be too long, but always get carried away when we're talking about innovation. Right. But in our vision, it is very simple. We want to build a technology that makes an OSA patient no longer feel like a patient, but just as a normal functioning person. And how do we want to do this? We want to do this with an implantable device, with no wearable component, just what we call a kind of pillow charging opportunity under your pillow when you go to bed, that you don't need to worry, you don't need to think, will my therapy activate? It will activate automatically. It will give you the correct stimulation settings to maintain your airway open. And in the morning, you will get a small report or an update on your night and how well you slept and how your oxygen desaturation, for example, stayed stable during the night. That should motivate you to use it again the next night.
Yeah, that's awesome. And when I think about this, right, and you've got these goals in mind, and as you start to get ready for commercialization of this product, maybe you can back us up with some of the challenges you faced with and obstacles for product development. Help our gurus out there in terms of how you put that team together to overcome some of these challenges, and what can other entrepreneurs learn from your experiences. Can you provide us any insights there?
I always love it when people are talking about their product and how technically different it is. But in my simple view, in the end, your product is as good as how often it is used by a patient. If it's not used and if the compliance is low, you can have the best product in the world. It will not do what it's designed for. So keep things simple, keep it minimum and invasive, make it highly comfortable for patients, and make it safe. I think that is really important. And then next to this, train and educate physicians and set the right expectations with patients on what to expect from a technology and what not. And I think if you combine all this, you're really up to a very good product development strategy.
Yeah, I like that, because to me, that sounds like really getting immersive with your technology, right? Getting that feedback from the patients and listening to get to that next level and figure out what those next steps are. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct. That is correct. And I think that is the message throughout the entire story. Whether you want to convince institutional investors, keep your story simple and focused. In your strategy, keep your focus. Don't overpromise, but overdeliver. I would like to say, and also in your product development, make sure you have a strategy where you always put the patient at the center, because that will always be your end user.
That's why we're all here, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. So, Olivier, this sounds like a really exciting time for you and your team at Nyxoah. So, where are you going from here? What does the future hold? Can you give us any insights in terms of where the team is headed?
Yep. As I mentioned already a couple of times, our vision is to make sleep simple again for OSA patients. We are short-term really working hard to do a successful launch in the US. And next, we would further expand and bring our therapy over time globally to more people who are suffering from OSA. We want to make sure that in the end, also by continue innovating, we can further support our mission and make sleep even more simple.
Yeah, I love that. What a great opportunity for you and your team. This is going to be fun to watch you. So, Olivier, first of all, I'd just like to thank you for your time and preparation to be our guru today. If somebody wants to get a little more information, is there a website for the company? Are you on LinkedIn? How do our listeners learn more?
We have both. I think we have a very nice website, so feel free to visit the website at www.nyxoah.com. There is, of course, LinkedIn, where we're also very active with our latest accomplishments, where you can see physician and patient reactions as well. And you, of course, can always reach out directly to me.
That'd be fantastic. And would you do me a favor and just spell Nyxoah so our listeners out there can understand where to go?
Nyxoah, so Nyxoah.
Yeah, how do you spell that, if you would?
Nyxoah. Nyxoah.
That's fantastic. Thank you for that. So, Olivier, I'd like to thank you for your time and being our guru today, and appreciate all the insights you provided.
Thank you for providing me with the opportunity to talk a little bit more about Nyxoah and our Genio technology. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to MedTech Gurus. I am Sylvester Harris, your MC. If you want to learn more about Tom and his consulting services, you can go to www.pctmedical.com or email Tom at tom@pctmedical.com. Now, I can be reached at Sylvester Harris, that's SylvesterHarris 5048@gmail.com, and I'd be pleased to discuss any voiceover work that you may want for your company or broadcast. Hey, thanks so much for listening, and catch us on the next episode of MedTech Gurus.